Hey everybody, welcome to this video about my sketchbook and how to learn how to draw in your sketchbook. So I find it really important to draw in your sketchbook, and it helps me so much. So what I do is basically I draw daily in my sketchbook. So of course, I'm Mitch Leeuwen, and I'm a freelance artist. And how I got here is by drawing a lot. And what really helped me is by drawing a lot in my sketchbook. So every day I try to draw in my sketchbook. And the great thing is you can take a sketchbook everywhere with you. For example, when I had my day job, I took my sketchbook with me in the train, and I started drawing in the train ride from and going away from work. So even when you don't have a lot of time, you can always find some time to draw in your sketchbook. And that is what I would recommend. So in this video, I will give you some tips about how you can develop that habit and how you eventually can grow to draw like me or find your own style. So let me talk a bit about what kind of materials I use, what kind of sketchbooks, and later I will show how I draw in my sketchbook, and I hope that will help you. So this sketchbook is from the brand Art Creation, and this is a good brand, and it's quite cheap. I don't know exactly the price, but you can look it up on the internet. I always get my sketchbooks from the local art store, and I just go to the art store and look what they have for a decent price with good quality. So this paper is quite thin. It's medium thickness, and it's a bit of yellowish, but I like that. That gives that kind of charm to it. And I also and the paper is quite rough, and I like that with pencil. I don't like too smooth papers. I like it when it's a little bit rough. This has this texture to it. So this is a sketchbook that's really great. I just got this Blackwing sketchbook, and this is also from the brand pencils I use. And this is a bit more expensive sketchbook, and the quality feels really premium. And it's a bit thinner paper, so I'm curious how that works. But overall, this is really good sketchbook. I haven't drawn in it, but Blackwing, you also get this pencil holder with this pencil with it. And so I can really recommend this sketchbook as well. But it's more expensive. And what I like about cheap sketchbook is that you don't worry that much about wasting a paper in it. So this is a different kind of brand. This is Sea White of Brighton. Also got this from the local art store, so I don't know if you can find it everywhere else. And this paper is quite rough and thick, but it's really good. So you can see I'm using all these kinds of different sketchbooks. I think this one was also quite cheap and it's brandless, but I really like it. So it's also fun. I just see that here. Here I used ballpoint pen, so you can also use that to draw in your sketchbook. So try to use different materials as well. The most important thing is that you just do a lot of drawing. So let me see, what kind of sketchbooks do I have more? This one is from, I got at an art festival, so just bought it random sketchbook. So I would recommend just go to the local art store and figure out what kind of sketchbook you like the most. And there's also a lot to find online. And if you just want to buy a good one for a decent price online, I would recommend the Art Creation. So yeah, that's a really good one. I don't think you can go wrong with that. So for pencils, I'm using, is it in the screen? Yeah, like this, the Blackwing 602. And I really like these ones. So So these are quite expensive pencils, but I think they're really good. They come with this this eraser on the top. You can also take the eraser out. So in my opinion, these are the best pencils I ever tried, but they're expensive, and so you don't need it necessarily. You can also use cheaper pencils, also fine with that. I think these are from Derwent. This is a 2B. I always like to use soft kind of pencils for my drawing. The Blackwings do have a different rating, but those are often quite soft. So I like soft pencils. For the eraser, also using this Blackwing eraser, it's from metal. You can open it to empty it, and this is perfect for bringing along with you in your bag because it's quite durable. At home, I'm oftentimes using this from Derwent as well. It's a really good brand. Derwent electric sharpener, so you can sharpen your pencils by putting it in it. So this is also perfect for when drawing a lot. And I also sometimes I use inking brushes. So Pentel is a good inking brush. So this is the art color brush. It's really great for example, if you're drawing in Inktober, using fine liners. This brand is Stadler. So it's also decent. It's a fine liner. And yeah, sometimes I'm using markers like this, but a lot of times I'm just drawing in, these days I only draw in my sketchbook with a pencil. Here you can see the tip brush. So that's from Pentel. Oh yeah, this is also a really interesting one. I have to try this one out, but also Pentel art bit refills. So that's maybe really interesting if you want to ink your drawings. So I heard this one was really good. So yeah, material-wise, I wouldn't say it's that too important what kind of materials you use. I like to use, it's not too expensive, it's still good quality, and in the end it's all about the drawing. So let's start talk a bit about that. So what I first did is trying to draw daily in my sketchbook in the train, and sometimes it can be really hard to pick up a theme or think about what you want to draw. So a lot of times I'm just picking something like drawing beds. And you can see that, so, or drawing sharks. And then I look for images on the internet from sharks. So using photo reference is also really good. Here you can find more fishes, drawing birds. So here you can also see that I used shapes to draw these birds. So I start with the shape here, and I will show that in a bit. But here I wanted to talk about picking a theme and starting to draw that. So don't make it too hard for yourself. Just think about, I want to draw dragons, and start drawing dragons or dinos or animals, etc. So it doesn't have to be this fancy. I think the most important about, for me at least, is to make the habit of drawing daily. And but you can also use it for getting ideas. So I think it's important to find something that that you really find important to do. So let's start drawing. Now the camera is gone. So we're back with the camera. So I like to let me show how to draw these beds. So put this here. So, for example, if I want to draw a bed, I try to start with drawing a circle like this here for the head. And then I'm drawing an action line. And then I draw in the body shape like this. So a lot of times I'm starting with this action line, and this is the line of action. So this helps drawing the pose. And then I draw in a ball for the head, and then the body in this pear kind of shape. But it's really important that you first draw this line, and then you draw these shapes following this line. So we can continue with that. So here, drawing in the ears, and I'm really using here these big shapes, and here this mouth, and then these wings. So really first you drawing these big shapes first. For example, then the legs here, and then here these feet, and then the tail. So when you have these big shapes, then you can start drawing in on top of that. So first that line of action, and then you draw these shapes following the shape. And I will show that in a bit. I will tell more about it. So here, drawing in this nose, then drawing in these eyes. And it's really important to think about how to follow these shapes. So here. And then the mouth. Like this. Then here, chin. So really draw this step by step. Then here these ears like this, and this here. Then here these hands. Then these wings. And it can be really rough in this face. Also, try to be a bit loose, like I'm doing here. But later we can correct it, because if I have something like this, then I start erasing the drawing until you can barely see it. So erase it, erase it. So I also get a lot of the questions about how do I get my sketchbook so clean, and that has to do with that I sketch it first quite rough, and then once I have it, like this here, I start drawing in the details. So here, I hope you can see it correctly. So then I start to add the final lines on top of the drawing. So what I would recommend you is to use my sketchbook. So, and to copy the drawings. So take the sketchbook, the PDF you have, the ebook, and maybe start drawing this bed in step by step what I just shown. So if you want to do this, start with the line of action, then draw in those shapes like the head and the body, etc. And try to follow those steps. So the line of action, and then the big shapes first, and then draw the details last. So I already talked a little bit about line of action. So I always start with something like a line like this, or a line like this, or a straight one, or maybe something like this. And you can use these lines to draw your characters. So like I did with the bed. So maybe I will show it with a different drawing. I think the shark is also a great one for this. So here, can you see here, you can, if you follow this shape, you can see this S shape here. So if I want to draw, what I would recommend to practice is take your sketchbook and put this drawing in front of you in an on your phone or something, and have your sketchbook here, and then start with the line of action. So here, draw this S shape like this, and then draw in the shape of the shark like this here. And then we start with this big shape, get the shape correct, and then you start drawing in the smaller shapes, like here, we're adding this fin here, and then this tail, then here these things. So I would recommend you to take my drawings and break them down like this in these shapes. Then drawing the eye, drawing the mouth. We see, oh, I need to put the eye a bit here. And you can be really rough with this. So this is a really rough version of it. So then we start erasing the lines a little bit. Make sure your pencil is sharp. So let's sharpen it a bit. And then we can start drawing in the final lines. So, and then I'll start with drawing this line here. So first the outlines, and later we will add the details. So then the eye, and the iris with the pupil, like this. And maybe we already add this line going here. And then with these shapes here, make sure you draw these holes that they're following the shape. And I'll tell a bit about that later. Then here, drawing this back, and this fin here. Then we're drawing this line here. So start with the outer lines to draw this shark. Then this fin here. Then this other fin. And follow this line here. And the shape here. Like this. Yeah. And then you can shade it. So a lot of times I'm holding my pencil like this to shade it. Also here. So I talked a little bit about following those shapes. So for example, if I would draw a character here, so starting with drawing in a ball like this, and then you're adding these. So if we're going to draw a head, I'm using these lines, and I call these perspective guides, to determine the direction of this ball. And then I'm drawing the eyes on top of this ball, and I try to follow the shape of the ball. So I'm really trying to follow the shape here. And then you can draw in the nose on top of it, like this here. And then the mouth. But I hope you can think of that I'm really, so here you can see that this eye is going around. It's not simply, it follows the shape. So if we would see this from the side, so here we have this ball, and we would see this eye, you can see it's following the shape of this ball. So I want you to think about how to draw these objects around these shapes. And I will show that in the next drawing here. So let's see what we have next. So these characters are great for that line of action here. You can see this line that's going like, this S shape. And also here, this character, can you see the action line? So try to look at drawings and try to find those line of actions. And this is something different. This is more graphical, these kind of birds. So let me show that. Here. So how would I draw a bird like this here? So I would first draw in a shape like this here. And then I will draw in an eye and then a beak. So that's also how you can start with the drawing. So first draw a shape and then draw the rest in it. And then you can use this for a more graphical type of drawings. So this is the base, and then you can start adding in the details as I did here. So maybe that's something you can try. So maybe you can study these drawings by, for example, here with this one, you first draw the shape and then you draw all the details inside it. And a lot of times what I'm trying to do is, for example, if I have a ball, what I don't do is put everything in the middle. So this looks quite boring. So what looks more interesting is when you, for example, put the eyes at the bottom, like this. And then the nose here. So, and you can also play around with it even more. So here, drawing this head. And what if we put really big eyes, and then a small nose and a medium mouth? So really try to play around with those sizes. And this is a great exercise. So go ahead, try to draw these shapes, try to see what kind of shapes I'm using here to draw these birds. and try it out, and then try out your own versions. So let me show one more of these birds. So let's take another. And you can also use this for other animals, or even for faces or for bodies. You can use this for all these kind of different things. So here you can see that I'm using this triangle kind of shape. So you can also use to think about that in triangles and circles and all these different shapes. And here this hair, here are his legs, here is his wing, and here's his head, here's his eye. So really try to break it down in these shapes, and that's really important. And then you can start drawing in the nice fancy lines. And I also get a lot of questions about how am I holding my pencil, and I think you need to find something that you like yourself. I like to hold my pencil like this. Some people even like to use this, so they like to draw between these two fingers, and then you get more loose drawings. If you find you're really stiff with your drawing, what you can try is using your left hand. So I'm right-handed, but you can also try drawing with your left hand, just to get creative and to get more loose. You will be more free. So that can be a really fun exercise to do. So I talked about using those shapes to draw birds, but you can also use these kind of shapes to draw these heads. So try to look at my drawings and try to see if you can recognize shapes. Here, this head looks like a pear. This shape looks like a rock, and so on. So let's see how that works here on this paper. So can I put it here? Yeah. So I'm going to draw this head. So I put the drawing here next to it. And then I start drawing in the shape like this. So this is the shape you can start by. Then I'm adding these perspective lines, and you don't have to do this, but this can help. So I'll be putting a line in the middle of it, so we know where to place the nose. Then the eyes and the eyebrows. So there's no real order on what to place first. I like to start with the eyes, because I think if you get these eyes right, you can, yeah, that will really help. So putting this ear here, and this hair. But a lot of times I start with drawing the eyes. Let's do another one. Let's do this one. So for this one, I start with a shape. Let me draw a bit thick so you can see it. So normally I draw really soft in this face. So here, let's start with the shape like this. You can see how rough I am now, just to figure out what I want to draw. So here, drawing these eyebrows maybe first, drawing the nose. So really try to think in drawing in shapes. So here, Drawing this mouth here and this chin, then this neck here, like this. And it can be really rough in this stage. Then erase the lines. Just play around with shapes. Try to have fun. Maybe you can look at some people on the street and try to see if you can find some weird shapes if you're looking at people on the street. Then you can start making the final, here the final lines on top of that, like this here. Draw that nose here. And this mouth. So these lines. So following these shapes here. So a lot of times it's just playing around, and then you will find some cool things you like. So here. And let's see what we can draw next. So more head shapes. So try to see what kind of shapes I'm using. So let's show what happens when you draw a more regular kind of head. This. Let's draw in this head. It's more regular. So start with drawing a ball like this, and then draw in these perspective guides like this, and use my drawings and follow these kind of steps. Then draw in the cheeks. And take your time to draw this. So I'm now doing this quite quickly, and normally I would take more time to draw these things. So drawing the neck, drawing the nose, then the eyes. Like this. Then draw in the hair. So start with a really big shape, and then draw in the smaller shapes inside this. So this is also something I often use. So start with the big shape and then divide it in smaller shapes. But basically this is how I start the construction, and then I start to draw the final lines on top of it. So here, then I start to draw these final lines like this. So here, adding this line here, adding these eyelashes here and there, adding this nose here, this mouth, etc. So just clean it up. So a lot of times I'm erasing these lines before I do this to get these clean drawings. But a lot of times when I draw these characters, I draw really light, these type of constructions. So yeah, try to break down these heads. I think this one is also really interesting to do. So here we have this page. And let's draw that head. So I start with drawing this ball here. Just trying to find the ball. And then here is, where is the nose? So somewhere here. So then drawing a ball for the nose. And then here this chin. So this chin is really long, like this. And then we're adding the neck, like this here. And then on top of that, we're adding the eyebrows. And for the eyes, I often draw this mask on top of the head. So show that here. So can you see this mask on the skull? So I'm using that to get the placement right of the eyes. So like this here. Drawing in the mouth. So it's really important to think about how these shapes are in 3D. So once we have this, then we can start erasing it. Like this here. And again, make sure your pencil is sharp, especially for this stage. I like when I'm sketching, I like that I have this dull, blunt pencil point. Then we can start making the final lines. So using the sharp pencil and making confident lines. So adding the eyebrow. And try to see what kind of lines I'm using and try to use that as well. And then just keep practicing. It takes time to learn these things, but try to learn from it. Take your time. And it's real good to copy my drawings in these steps like I'm showing now, step by step. And I think you will learn a lot from that. And once you've done that, then you can try to make your own shapes of heads with these shapes I'm showing. So maybe you've now drawn this character, but you can also use it the same technique. Draw a ball first and draw maybe a really different kind of chin and a different sharp nose, etc. So you can really use these techniques to draw all these kinds of different characters. And you can also use it to draw bodies or to draw animals, to draw girls, to draw dragons. So maybe I can show how to draw a dragon like this. So let's go here. And I start with this line of action, like this. And then I draw in the head. There's a ball here, then a shape here, and then I draw in the neck. Then I draw in the body. So here I'm drawing a ball for the rib cage. So it's also really good to learn some anatomy, even if you don't want to go realistic. It's really useful to learn some basic anatomy to figure out how to draw these kind of shapes. And again, it takes time to practice all these things. I'm now an artist for years, and yeah, it takes a lot of time to learn all these things, but take your time for it, have fun with it. Don't worry too much about it. Here, adding these wings like this here, adding another wing here like this, and then here these things. So try to draw these shapes first when drawing a character. So try to draw this construction, and then you can draw on top of this construction. So for example, for this head, we're adding this perspective guide and this eye mask. You can draw the eyes inside that mask, adding the eyes here. And also think about, follow those shapes. So really try to think in 3D. And this can be really hard and difficult, but take your time to learn this, and don't worry too much if you don't get it at this moment, right? But try to draw my characters in these shapes first and then clean it up. So yeah, and so you can draw all these different kind of characters. So here this more stylistic style, more cartoony. Here you can see I'm using less round shapes with more straight lines. So I'm using more the shapes like that. Those earlier birds are shown. More birds, more characters, and so on. So that is basically how I use my sketchbook. So try to set a goal for yourself. Maybe try to, if you can, put 1 hour, try to draw 1 hour a day in, so maybe if you travel half an hour to work, draw half an hour in train to your work and half an hour when you're going back. Or if you only have half an hour, draw in your sketchbook half an hour a day before you go to sleep, or before you go out to bed. You can take the sketchbook in your bed and start draw from it. And you can use my my drawings to study all these different kind of animals. Try to break them down, just as I've shown in all these things. So I hope this video helped you with some tips about how to draw. And yeah, I think that's it. And the most important thing, have fun while drawing. Learning to draw takes a lot of time. So people overestimate what they can do in a short amount of time, but they underestimate what they can do over long periods of time. So the best thing is to have fun and don't give up. So thanks everyone for watching, and I hope to see you next time.